my name is Buke. I've had this restaurant now 14 years.
14?
14, yes.
14,
yes.
Yeah.
First restaurant.
Where were you born and
I was born in Tabriz in Iran, yeah. And I came to this country just a year before the revolution, 1979, and I've been here ever since.
How did you come here?
I was actually in the Navy. I came. We were training in Dartmouth, the British Royal Navy, and but they sent us. There was one of Iranian ships on the Tyne. We went there and we were there for about a year and a half, and then the sanctions were starting, so they kept the ship here for about 3-4 years. But in the meantime, I met my wife from the river. So since my wife lives here, I live here.
How do you identify yourself as your ethnicity? How do you identify your ethnicity?
I'm used to British way of life, but I will never be British. You know, if people automatically they see me, they say, automatically they say, "Where are you from?" I have to say I'm from Iran. So that background will always be there, you know. So you can't change that.
Do you identify with any religion?
No, I don't do religion. Well, actually, first, when I decided to stay in this country, I lived in Tyne for about a year. Then I moved to Whitley Bay for a couple of years, and then I moved to Newcastle. I think it was 1985. I moved to Newcastle, and I've lived in Newcastle ever since. For 28 years.
28
years. Yeah, I've lived in Newcastle. Yeah. Long time, isn't it? When I lived in Newcastle, Newcastle was a small place. You know, it has changed so much. You know. So.
What was the Iranian community like when you first moved here?
We didn't have any. When I stayed here, I think first years, we were lucky to see somebody every 6 months. We would see somebody. We would, as if you know, we've just met our long lost brother for so many years. We would grab each other, hug each other, and all that. But the things obviously have changed. Such a nice city. There's people from all over the world, so it's really nice now. Yeah, those days was very rare. You saw one of your friends, you know.
So in terms of change, how did it change in terms of Iranian community? What changed?
It just really, I think for past 16 years, there has been more and more Iranians have come here. I mean, I've got 2 sons, 30-year-old and 28-year-old, and they only can speak just a few words of Farsi. They can't, because when we stayed here, we never thought that we were going to be here this long, and we never thought that there would be any need for them to learn Farsi, so we never bothered teaching them. And whatever they've learned in the past 10 years, I took them to Iran and they visited Iran. They've learned a few words, you know, so at the time there was no community when we stayed here, you know, so. And we had these, you know, lots of communities, they have, I don't know, Irish center, Chinese center. Unfortunately, the Iranians, they've never had any, so maybe it's time we should have a community center, you know, so it would be really fantastic to have something like that here. I think a lot of people, they say, Iranians, they never stick together, they're always running away from each other. But I don't think it's any of that. I think the Iranians mostly, they integrate with the society so fast, and they go their own ways. Usually Iranian people, they mix with people. Well, as far as you know, I know, But I mean, recently there are a lot more Iranians that I'm not involved in their family lives, their private lives. I'm not sure exactly what goes on. I know there are lots of problems, but they are obviously, when you move from a country to a different country, obviously there will be lots of problems, and that's where community centres come handy to look after their problems and their interests. When I stayed in here so many years ago, we started, obviously at the time it was really difficult to find jobs and all that. It was Mrs. Thatcher's time, and it just very, very difficult to find jobs. But once we found a job, and we are all a nation that we work really hard, given the opportunity, we will work and we will make a good life for ourselves. We need the first, chance for that. As I mentioned before, and the people I know, they've always worked right up to they retired, or maybe they're due to retire. But the new ones, they have arrived again. I think they are used to in Iran to trying to make a living for themselves, to raise their standards. But maybe it's now a bit difficult for them to have a starting point. So yeah, maybe there should be more help for them. So just we all constantly complain about our country, don't we? So the first communication starts that, so, oh well, in the kitchen we arrive first in the morning. Do you know so-and-so said that, and do you know so-and-so said that? That's terrible, so that's what they start with, so. Is that right, do you think? That's what we do? Iranians, they can't, when they talk about their cultures that they are from, they are very happy with that. And when they come on, they have to change to another culture, obviously they find it very difficult. But I think everybody should keep to their cultures, and it is really nice. And I don't think I do think this country gives everybody the chance, despite what you hear. I think it's very cosmopolitan city and country, I think.
So what aspects of culture do you think is important to keep?
Everything. Family values from Iran, the way we bring up our children, the way we look after parents. There is lots of things, I think, well, in the Middle East or lots of other countries. The fact that, the way I was brought up, and I would love to be like that, So from my family, I'm one of 9, and I have a few times told my mum, why don't you come to England? No, I don't want to come there. No. I said, well, why? I'll get bored. I said, no, you won't get bored. I'll take you to places. I'll take you shopping. I know I can't. She's, bless her, she's 85 or something. She says, no, you will get bored taking me to places. I said, no, but I keep thinking about it. I said, well, suppose I did bring her here now. What can we do? Where can I take her? But this is maybe where, like America, there are lots of places that you can still keep. There are radios, there are televisions. We don't have much of it in England. And I've decided, yes, I could go and, by force, get my mum and say, no, you have to come and see how we live, see the way we live in here. But what could she do?
So your mother hasn't been here at all?
She hasn't, no. But the other reason she gives me, she says, no, I don't want to go, because, where we live, one of my sisters married, has grandchildren, but lives just about 10 minutes walking distance from our house. The other brother again 5-6 minutes walking distance. Other brothers, whole 3 sons with their wives and children. They live in one house complex, so they've just extended the house going upwards. So, and she says, well, you know, I get up in the morning, they're all around me. What will I mean? We work too hard in this country, I think. Well, I do anyway, you know, and I worry that if I did bring it here, who's going to look after it, you know, so. My 2 boys, they absolutely love Iran. They always, with pride, they say, I am Iranian. Although they don't even look Iranian. They're Geordies. They've had good education. They both play rugby. They've got very, very good jobs now. But anybody asks them, where are you from? With pride, they say, I'm from Iran. Instantly, they wanted, a few years ago, they found that Iran has a rugby team. And they both said, we want to go and play for their team, for the national team. And they're actually pretty good. The young one has played for England, under 16s, under 18s, under 21s. And he plays in Hong Kong now. He plays for them. And the other one has played under 16s, and they still play rugby. They do CrossFit training. They do all sorts, you know. But anyway, on their own initiative, they had found out that Iran has actually a rugby team now, and they had found that their coach was from New Zealand, and they had actually sent them an email that we would like to play for you. So they're still waiting for their, you know, next World Cup there is. They might, I don't know, taken them to Iran, and, you know, they've always, I mean, we went last time, we were there 2 weeks. We went all the best places. I mean, there is so much to see in Iran. They have nicely put a few of their films on YouTube that we went there, and they always brag about it. So. Typically, I took them to these places, you know, Zulkhane, we call them sort of powerhouses, traditional places. Start 6 o'clock in the morning, and they do exercises and all that. It's a really nice traditional place. And I took them, you know, despite lots of problems in Iran we have, whatever, I don't want to get into that, whatever causes it. But the people are so kind there, and they compensate for everything. You know, I mean, I have been many times and gone back there. You get, you know, you do get problems. There's no way getting away from it. You know, when there is not proper system there, that needs to be developed. I don't know when will happen, when we'll see it. But people are just so nice. I mean, you must have seen on the films. I get customers. We get good few customers. They come here, and the reason they've come here, they've said, "Oh, we went to Iran, whether on bicycles, whether touring," and they come and they're just full of praise. They said, "Fantastic country. I would definitely go back." And there is so much to see in Iran. There is so much to see. I know quite a few of my customers. They have been to Iran, and they always come back here and they bring photos and show me all sorts, you know. So they tell me all the stories, you know. So my kids just the same. I mean, we went to. Traditionally, they don't allow ladies to go there. So we went there, and I asked the guy. I said, "Can my sons come in here?" "Oh yeah, of course they can come in." So when there, I said, "Well, my wife is English. Can she come in?" Well, it's difficult. You know, we haven't allowed. So far, we haven't allowed. This was in Tehran, actually. We haven't allowed anybody. But in your case, we'll make exception. Yes, she can come in. So my other sister was with us, and her daughter. They said, "Well, we can come as well." The man says, "Okay, you can come as well." So we went there, and they were so kind, unbelievable. And we just sat there, and because my son's always into sports and all that, I asked the guy, I said, do you think my sons could take part in this exercise? They said, oh yeah, no problem, yeah, of course, yeah. So they took them, and they have these traditional, the short trousers they wear them with embroideries on them and all that. So they've actually, you will find if you look Matthew or Adam, and if you just type Kushti in Iran, YouTube comes up and they're actually training there. It's really good, so yeah. So when you go to Iran, it's people, they compensate for everything, so they are very kind people, I think. So they're easily, well, this is the part of our culture that you don't see. I'm not going to say which street or which city and all them, but you do see, we miss all that, to look after your neighbor comes first. We miss them in this country, so not everybody. I've got very, very nice neighbors. Even though, when my mom, we used to cook, say, soup, or take some to this to neighbor, take some to this. We don't do that in this country. These are the cultures, I'm saying, cultural values we miss, so. I must admit, I myself, I might have been very, very lucky. I have not experienced that kind of, maybe what you call racism or things. I haven't experienced. But again, having said that, I experience it every day. It depends at what level you're talking about. It just, somebody, for example, it just walks in here and I ask, for example, can you fix that fridge? He gives me a comment, obviously considering my color. What would you know about fridge? They give me some excuse, you think, well, excuse me, even if I haven't studied engineering, I am not a fridge engineer, but I've been in this business for long enough, I know more than you about fridge. Just because I haven't got the equipment to fix it, I know. So you do experience just a little bit of racism there. They look at you and say, well, he's dark, he won't understand. So I can say whatever I want. But I've been lucky enough to experience, well, one of my chefs, for example, he's worked so hard all night, Saturday night, they work, this was experience, I'm talking about from my experience, that at night, after all the hard work, gets his wages, he's walking home, and 3 people, they stop him, they ask for a cigarette, he says, I'm sorry, I haven't got a cigarette, and he realized from their actions, they are planning to beat him up, and for what? For sake of that £40 or £50 or whatever his wage was, to take that off him. And as I say, but could that be racism, or could that happen? I must admit, I had one one of my staff in my previous shop. He was actually Irish, and he used to live in. His parents was from Whitley Bay, but he lived in just round the corner here. But he was brought up in England. He was totally English, long hair and all that, and fantastic lad. He was such a nice lad. And in 2 weeks running, on a Saturday night, walking from my shop to a mile away to his home, in 2 weeks running, somebody had approached, do you have a light for my cigarette? While he was lighting, they had punched him on the face with bloody nose and emptied his pockets. So this could happen to anybody. So, I mean, it does happen. I'm not saying there is no racism. It just, that would be daft to say that. But in general, I think it's a good country to be in. I look at myself in here. I am guest in this country, even though I've lived here. This is my understanding. I am guest here, and I will always be guest. I can never ever say I'm British. Even though, my wife is British, and it's okay in the paper they might say yes, it's Kurdish. But you know, we'll always be guests here. But it's fantastic country, they're nice people, nice city, and we will always appreciate that.